Germany, you had a lovely man by the name of Martin Luther. Now Luther, guys, did something so revolutionary and radical, it was just utterly brilliant. He took his thesis, this thing he'd been working on for months, that was basically a criticism of the Roman Catholic Church and its practices. He took it and he nailed it to the door of the church, to the notice board. Yeah? Now, so simple, yeah? But nonetheless, anybody could have just come and said, well, that's crap, and just thrown it in the bin, but they didn't. Yeah, in fact, they took this document and they put it on a brand new invention. The brand new invention was called the printing press. And with this invention, guys, that document would be distributed throughout Europe. It would come all the way here to Scotland, yeah? Not just to Edinburgh, it would go further north to the beautiful city of St. Andrews. Guys, you ever been to St. Andrews? Yeah, you've been? It's the home of golf. If you love golf, you'll love St. Andrews, right? Personally, guys, I think golf is a terrible game, yeah? Tiny little white ball, 18 golfers' holes are in a large, massive area, yeah? Only a Scotsman could invent this game. It's like, do we get a good stick? No, you get a crap one. You gotta try and get it from the wedge as well, yeah? It's just pure difficulty the entire time. That gives them the excuse to drink scotch from the sash, right? You get the idea. But nonetheless, this is where this guy was originally working, St. Andrews, yeah? His name was John Knox, yeah? Knox, guys, worked for the Anglican Church. Church of England split from Rome is a pretty simple concept, guys. Eh? Henry VIII, the man, wanted a divorce. No longer wanted to stay married to the beautiful Catherine of Aragon. So what did he do? He kicked her out. And he kicked the Pope out as well whilst he was at it. He said, I want my divorce. I'm now the head of the Church of England. And that's all there is to it. They steal all the money from all the monasteries, abbeys, nunneries, close them all down. And now everything's run through me. So it's not really that much internal reform going on, and that was this guy's criticism. Knox picked up the work of Luther and he said, look, this is internal criticism. We should change things. And the Anglican Church said, no, get out. Bang, out he went. So where could he go? He went to the continent. He went to work in a small city in Switzerland called Geneva. In Geneva, he met another man, Calvin, John Calvin. Calvinism was far more radical than Lutheranism. Yeah? And Calvinism electrified this man's ideas. So much so, he started to call for violence against Catholic individuals in the city of Geneva. Even Calvin thought that was too much. Yeah? He booted him out as well. Now please bear in mind, this man has at this point been booted out of two separatist churches. Yeah? How do you splinter a splinter? John Knox. Yeah? He was so radical, but he ended up coming back here to Scotland, and this would be his pulpit, the St. Giles High Kirk. The people loved him. Those of you from the United States, you might remember a guy called Billy Graham. Yeah, hellfire, brimstone, that kind of guy. Yeah, well, this was our Billy Graham. Yeah, except his knowledge of Scripture was so absolute, yeah, that he was going to revolutionize Christian culture throughout Scotland. I think Billy Graham had a proportion of the US he really influenced, but the rest was kind of like, oh, yeah, this guy's a bit weird, yeah? Nonetheless, Knox, however, well, you see, he had several foundational beliefs. Belief number one, Catholics were evil. Catholics, evil, don't tolerate them, get rid of them, yeah? Number two, women in power is a bad thing. So ladies, if you want to spit on the man, you go ahead. And something tells me he might like it. These Presbyterians are a bit odd sometimes, guys, right? However, the problem he had, yeah, the main opponent he had was the Queen. Mary, Queen of Scots, a French-educated Catholic monarch. How do you think their relationship went down? It was not good, yeah? He would say horrific things about her in public. He would call her the whore of the Catholic Church in public. They would then drag him down into Holyrood Palace to be rebuked by Queen Mary. And do you know what he would do? He would just talk back at her, just mouth back at her in front of her courtiers. Everybody stood there completely shocked in silence the first time. By the fifth time, they were there with Cheez-Its and Wattles going, this is great. Somebody should write a play about this. Eh? They did. It sells out every year. Yeah? They're making a film very soon about Mary, Queen of Scots. Guess who is playing this lovely man? Yep, your favorite Doctor Who, David Tennant. I can't wait to see Tennant play John Knox, fiery branded Presbyterian. Yeah? See, even the church agrees, right? However, guys, Knox over here, he also had some other beliefs as well. Number one, the idea of literacy. Each and every individual should be able to read and write and interpret the Bible for themselves. That's a basis of Protestantism, right? The gospel is the most important thing, not the icons. Problem John Knox had was the majority of the population at this time were illiterate. There's not a lot you can really do in that circumstance. He set out to change that. Change number one, translate the Bible from Latin into Scots, just like Luther did in Germany into German. Yeah? Simple thing, but very effective. Number two, educate the people. Yeah? Build parish schools, build Sunday schools up and down the country, attach them to the parochial parish, yeah? And not just children, but adults will be able to read and write and learn for the first time in their life. Do you know how successful he was because of this? Guys, the only place it didn't work was the Highlands. The Highlands weren't having it. Why? They were a clan culture, they had a Gaelic tongue, an oral culture, and a Catholic faith. They were not accepting his teachings. But the Lowlands, guys, oh dear Lord, the Lowlands dramatically changed. By the time of his death in 1572, Scotland would have a literacy rate of round about 50%. 50%. Do you have any idea how radical that is for its time? 50% in the 16th century. It would take England 100 years over that to get anywhere close to that level of literacy. The Welsh are still catching up. Haven't quite got there yet. I can make that joke, it's fine, guys. Right? However, guys, when you consider these reforms and these changes, you have to consider something else, right? The point being, when you translate these words, yeah, they have a massive effect, because when you learn how to read one book, are you going to stay with the one book? Or are you going to learn to read more? Are you going to, exactly, yeah? Knowledge is infectious, and so is education. The disease of the learned is a genuine condition in Edinburgh. Yeah, 2 centuries later, he had laid the foundation for the Scottish Enlightenment, where one figure would actually work most of his life in the corner just over here in the beautiful Advocates Library, the great David Hume. We'll be meeting him soon, yeah? So of course, guys, he's so important in Scottish history, we buried him under a car park. Now, this was not always a car park, as you can probably work out. What is usually adjacent to a kirk? Cemetery, thank you, sir. Yeah, burial ground, cemetery, whatever, right? Dead people. All the dead people are gone, except him. So you're kind of standing. But no, it's fine. Don't worry. He's been dead 5 centuries. He won't mind, right? Point is, everybody else was exhumed. Everybody else was removed. They were taken out. I'll show you a bit later where they were moved to. Yeah. However, there was something after that, after the kirkyard, before the car park, guys. The lawyers would remain here. The advocates after the Act of Union, Scottish law would remain independent of British law, and still to this very day. On the other side, you have the clerics, yeah? The church officials, the deacons. Yeah? They're all in here. So, what institution do you think, 12 o'clock every single day, when the bell rings for break, would they go to for lunch? Come on, it's easy. You're in Scotland, guys. The pub, exactly, yeah? The pub, the bar. The bell would ring for 2 hours, yeah? Ding, ding, 2-hour break. They'd go to the pub and get sloshed. Absolutely wasted. Now, please bear in mind, imagine you're in court. You are being prosecuted for a criminal offence. You could end up on the gallows, and your lawyer comes back 2 hours after lunch, and he doesn't have a leg under him, staggering towards the courtyard, literally unable to stand up. My client did nothing wrong. Bang, yeah? But it's okay, because when you look in complete despair up to the judge is sleeping off his yesterday's hangover, yeah? This was Scots law for the better part of 2 centuries. If your dad was a lawyer, you were a lawyer, and so on and so forth. Nepotism was the order of the day, yeah? Nonetheless, guys, today, yes, it is a car park, yeah? And once upon a time, this area was lined with bars. But, car park today, so who do you think is this? Who do you think is this very privileged position, the number 23 parking space? This red Audi Q3 doesn't just belong to anybody, yeah? It's Sunday, yeah? Church service, yeah? The advocates are not in. This Audi Q3 glides in every single day and parks here on this Sunday, yeah? It's a thoroughly Protestant car, yeah? Who does it belong to? It belongs to the minister of St. Giles High Kirk. This is his parking space, okay? And only his parking space, yeah? He gets that privilege. But why? When he comes out and he sees people talking amongst this car and amongst this spot, come on with a thick Anglican accent. Hello there, how are you doing? Yes, I'm the minister of St. Giles. You didn't know that, did you? No, you didn't. That's John Knox as well. He's the head of the Church of Scotland. You didn't know that either, did you? No. You see, why I park here, John Knox is the head of Church of Scotland, is technically my boss. Now, given the opportunity, wouldn't you park on your boss as well and you'll walk back inside, yeah? Lovely man, but you know. His face is as red as the car, if that tells you anything, right? Nonetheless, guys, what we're going to do now, we're going to learn a little bit more about that great Scottish enlightenment, about figures like David Hume, by meeting David Hume himself, or in at least statue form. Come on.